the psychologists will look at demand as relating to motivation, behavior, personality, and the environment within which the individual operates. Geographers, on their side, they look at demand based on geographic boundaries and demographics. And so within this, then this gives us the different types of demand. Now, in tourism, we shall talk about 4 main types of demand. The effective or actual demand, which refers to the people who are actually traveling at a point in time. And we have the potential demand, which refers to the people who could travel if they were motivated. And then we have the deferred demand or the postponed demand. And this is demand, it refers to the people who wish to travel but are not traveling presently due to temporary reasons or of self or supply end. So ideally, like in our time like this of the COVID-19, then we are saying the kind of demand we are having now is the deferred or the postponed demand, where these people are ready and willing to travel but are unable to travel because of a temporary reason, this time around either related to their health or related to the supply end, where like in Kenya we are closed off the airspace. So in that case, then that becomes a postponed demand. Then the other one is the suppressed demand. And the suppressed demand here, we are talking about people who are not interested in travel. They are just not interested to travel. In that cases, we also call it a non-demand scenario. And so we measure the likelihood to travel by a term we call travel propensity. And the net travel propensity is the percentage of the population, of the overall population, who makes at least one trip during a given period of time. And so to calculate it, we use the number of population that is taking at least one trip times 100 over the total population. So we are taking the total number of people taking at least one trip, divide that by the total population, and we multiply that by 100. Now that gives us the net travel propensity. But we also have the gross travel propensity. And this looks at the total number of trips that are undertaken as a percentage of the entire population. So here we are not taking the at least one trip, but we are taking the total number of trips taken, divide that one by the total population, and multiply that by 100. That gives us the gross travel propensity. In that case, then we can classify a population as either being high travel propensity or low in travel propensity. Now, that population that has high travel propensity is characterized by the following. They have high education, they have high levels of awareness, they have higher levels of income, they also have private vehicles, they have a better travel facilitation. Can also be the issue of exchange rate. They have a shorter travel distances, low travel costs, and most of them, they are young at age. Then for those who have low travel propensity, those populations are characterized by low education, low awareness, low income, most times than not, no ownership of vehicles, poor travel facilitation, a poor exchange rate, and long travel distances, and then the high travel cost. All those who make a population to have low number of trips. And that is what classifies the travel propensity, both gross and the net. And so what factors determine tourism demand? We have captured a number of them here, and we'll be able to take us through them. And we classified them into 5 broad categories. The first category is the individual factors, the economic factors, geographic factors, destination factors, and political factors. And so I start with the individual factors. Now these are factors that relate to the traveler himself or herself, and they include education and awareness. They also include mobility, that you are mobile, you are able to move, age, gender, and religion. They are also part of this. Income and employment, which of course is also related to disposable income, the household income, And also within that, the dual income families with no kids, what we call the DINKs, the dual income, no kids families. So that is another factor that comes in there, individual. The paid holiday, if you had it at your workplace, that's another part. It also is a factor that will influence demand for tourism. The family influence, nature of family that the individual lives in, whether it's a joint family or a nuclear family, that will also determine the demand for travel. The other one is the values, what we mean by the person's values and attitudes and lifestyle. Lifestyle. Your values, your attitude, and your lifestyle. All that comes in there. Another material we find it could just be called values and lifestyles of that individual will also determine whether you're going to travel or not. Then the stage of the family life cycle. This is also another thing that will determine whether you're going to travel or not. And what you have in mind there, families do have life cycles right from the time you are single, alone, as a young adult, not married. Then the guy gets married, so it becomes a couple without children. Then they get school-going children, and all the way to what the marketers will tell us, we call the empty nests one, where children have left home, but they still come back. And then empty nest two, where children leave home, never to come back. And that is followed by that stage we call the solitary survivor. And solitary survivor, here we are talking about when one of the partners has left this world. So you are left alone. And so at each stage of the life cycle, the individual's preference or propensity to travel is different. For a young couple, their travel patterns and behavior is very different from a couple that has school-going children. And that's what we mean by that as a factor determining the travel patterns or demand for travel. And again, also we look at gap year opportunities. That's another factor that also comes in as an individual factor explaining demand for tourism. Then the other one is the economic factors. And economic factors, we look at 4 major factors. 1, cost of travel. So the higher the cost of travel, the less likely individuals are going to be traveling. 2, the cost of the travel product. 3, competitive prices. So if competitive prices are being offered, then it becomes easier to motivate people to travel, or depending on what your competitor is offering, again, that also dictates the travel patterns. The other one is the exchange rate. So like, for example, if you want to travel out, and this applies when you are taking an overseas trip, the exchange rate in that case then will be able to affect how much you're going to be spending in that destination. But when you are dealing with an environment where the currency is the same, like if you're operating within the European Union, where the euro is a standard currency, then this doesn't come in there. And so it is also you're operating within the same destination, or you are more of a domestic traveler. So that's what you're talking about there. But as you're saying, exchange rate becomes key when we are doing overseas travel. The other category is the geographic factors. And here you think about the seasonality in the area. You think about accessibility, location, and the distance. We're also looking at attraction, the choices that are available in the area that you are choosing to go, and the urban or rural populations of the economy, or even the economy of the place. All those are factors that are geographic in nature, which will determine the demand for travel. Destination factors, what we are looking at here, we think about the image of the destination, the promotion of the destination, how it is being promoted, technology and development of that destination, the computerized reservation systems technology, which is available, you can be able to book with ease, the developmental level of that destination, the credibility of the destination, and other factors like safety and security, attraction, the events, the quality of the production of the product, and even the travel formalities that are involved within that particular destination. Then we have the political factors. In the political factors here, we are looking at factors related to the government. So all the regulations for the government, excuse me, the government regulations on supply and the tourists, government requirements on visa, formalities, health checks, government rules on currency, any prohibition for the government, others like transport regulations, accessibility, and even bilateral agreements between the host country where you are coming from and also where you want to go to the destination. So in that case then, the transport regulations and bilateral agreements will come into play there. So what characterizes the tourism demand? Now, tourism demand is, first of all and foremost, is planned demand. It doesn't just occur, it's planned to occur. Secondly, it involves high levels of expenditure, and there is no tangible return or purchase. In other words, it's intangible. There's nothing you're going to be able to get back after you have purchased what you wanted to buy. It's different from if you are buying any tangible good. It has a very high level of price elasticity. And what that means, in the event that prices change, demand for tourism will also change. It can be price inelastic too, of course, especially if you are selling a destination that's exclusive destinations. In that case, those who are going there, to the high-end visitors, are not much concerned about how much you are going to be charging. Their main concern is the quality of the product and the quality of the experience that they are going to have. This demand is also characterized by seasonality. It's seasonal. It has peaks, it has troughs. That is part of it. It's not subject to law of diminishing returns, whereby the more you consume, you are get to a point where you feel you cannot consume no more. Tourism demand doesn't have a peak, where you can say, now beyond this, I cannot consume anymore. Demand is always there. And that's a very good thing to talk about, that it is not subject to the law of diminishing returns. Then it also is characterized by changing demand patterns. Then we focus then on tourism supply. Now, as far as tourism supply, here we're talking about the supply of all assets, all services, and goods that are to be enjoyed or bought by visitors and occasioned by the journey of the visitor. So all that assets, all the services that are provided for purposes of consumption by the visitor is what we are talking about, the tourism supply. And so in this case then, we are thinking about the infrastructure that's going to be supplied. We are also thinking about, and further we are talking about telecommunication, accommodation, and transport. We are also talking about the superstructure. And under superstructure here, we are thinking about all the facilities that have been constructed primarily to support visitation and visitor activities. The other level of the component of supply is the attractions that are going to pull the visitor to the destination. This we are thinking about things like the theme parks, museums, national parks, and another that can be able to pull the visitor to the market. Then the other component of tourist supply is the marketing or the promotion on the destination image. So all those four are the major components of tourism supply. So this supply, therefore, as we have mentioned, is a composite product. In other words, tourism supply is not one item. It's a composite or an amalgamation of several factors together. So it will involve accommodation, transportation, catering, natural resources, entertainment, and other facilities and services that are going to be availed to the visitor. All those are part of what you're talking about, the tourism supply, an amalgamation, a composite of several factors together. So what factors affect tourism supply? We take note of 6 of them. Tourism supply is affected by the economics factors, so affected by political factors, geographical factors, legal factors, technological factors, and social factors. In that case, then, we put this kind of module here, the conceptual framework, try to demonstrate what we are talking about here. Now, these are components of the tourism supply, what we call the supply chain. Now, within this supply chain, We have the tourist area of origin and where they are heading to, the destination. And they'll need transportation to be able to get there. Now, from where they are coming from, they'll also be able to access the tourism product. With the tourism product, in this case now we are talking about the accommodation factor and all the associated services that are coming in there. And we create also products for this, the product packages for the same. And then tourists will have demand, and this demand will be of the product itself that we are looking for. So then the other side of it is the supplier. So the supplier gives us the products up to here. The packages, the tourism product itself, the general one, the accommodation, and all the associated services. And now these are going to be demanded by the visitors. With that, then we have other associated services, and everything about now the government coming in as part of the supply chain, the non-government organization, that the civil society, the tourism operators also in here, the services, and even the tour guides and tour drivers. So all those are going to be part of this. So within these supply components, we talk about the natural or environmental resources coming in there, the built or the man-made resources. So the natural resources, in this case, we are thinking about those which are naturally occurring within the destination. So there, the physiographic of the area, the topography, the landforms, the flora and fauna, the water bodies, air quality, and many others that are naturally occurring in that place. In other words, the natural endowments or the comparative advantage that the destination enjoys. But besides that component, we also have the built or the man-made resources, that which are being provided within the destination. Things like transport and the superstructure, all those are part of the built or man-made resources. Then we talked about transportation, both into the destination and within the destination. And the other one is the hospitality and cultural resources. And here we are referring to the friendliness, the sincerity of the people there, their courtesy, and their willingness to serve and to be better acquainted with the visitor. That also becomes a very key component within tourism supply, the hospitality and cultural resources of the destination itself. And so where do these two link? Where does the tourism demand and supply link? Now, this simple diagram we have here to try to demonstrate where the two of them connect. That demand, which is coming from the generating region, is connected with the supply, which is found at the receiving destination. And the two of them are connected by marketing and promotion. That the demand side from the source or the rating origin, the generating region, and the destination region are joined together by the aspect we are calling marketing and promotion. So that is the nature of demand within, demand and supply within the tourism sector. And I thank you very much for your time and for listening. Thank you.